So what's going on?
Oh my gosh, what's not going on?
Yeah, tell
right?
us. Start.
The industry.
You speak quickly, so that's a good thing.
You live in this industry,
Yeah.
right? Of the dynamic of resolution and post-production and this ever-changing world of more pixels and more power, right?
Yes.
So we seem to have been driving that boat since 2006 when we first launched with an idea and a concept, and a lot of people going, these guys are never going to do anything.
And a red curtain.
And a red curtain,
Yeah.
a red tent.
Yeah.
Now it's 2012, and it seems like a lot of people are getting the message. The camera is extraordinarily successful on every front. And on your side of the world with post-production, it has become so well migrated and so well understood that I think if you look back, it's been like almost a quantum leap change of, if you look back pre-Red at what the industry was and what it meant, and how narrow it was in a lot of ways, for high-end jobs, and how wide it is now and how much more power people have in so many different environments, from their home environment all the way up to the biggest post houses in the world to literally drive the same quality image. So I think that's one of the things we're really proud of.
Well, in terms of television, how many TV series do you have that you're shooting now?
A fair amount, and growing all the time. As more and more producers and DPs are realizing what we've been talking about for a few years, that it's actually a strategic error, a tactical error to shoot and acquire at 1080p or 2K, because you will not live in the future of 4K monitoring and 4K delivery, right? So you have a fair amount of shows that are still in that 1080p world, but more and more are now getting the message that they need to be on the right camera for today and tomorrow. And actually, truthfully, tomorrow is right now. Like, it's happening right now. So Criminal Minds would be a really good example of that. They're all on Epics, shooting in 4K mode on the Epics.
Did they start on Red 1? And then
No, they were... I know they were an F-35 show for a couple of seasons.
Okay.
They may have been filmed in the very early seasons. It's 7 seasons in.
Oh, that makes sense, yeah.
And then they moved from F-35 to Epic, and the DP, Greg St. John's, never looks back. And we actually shot an interview with him that we'll post, and we'll give you guys the sneak on it to let you run it for all the customers, because there's a lot. It's actually interesting because it talks a lot about camera and post-production with Greg, because this intersection has never been more connected than it is now with what is post and what is production. It's sort of all the
line
same,
is all blurring
same thing
together.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, we're seeing that in a big bad way. I was going to ask, so how many Red 1s are still out there being used?
Oh my gosh, thousands.
Really?
The serial numbers of Red 1s are well over 10,000. And they're used on everything. In fact, they're still used on a lot of TV shows, even with the newer cameras coming in. Southland is a show that they shoot mostly on Red 1s and some Epic and Scarlet. Pretty Little Liars is another show that was shooting on Red 1s, just migrated to Scarlets. I think that's actually the first TV show to move over multi-camera Scarlet from Red 1s, and they're thrilled.
Well, speaking of Scarlets...
of Scarlets, that's a good transition. So
bring that in.
I brought my friend Nate, who's one of our production specialists that works with me at Red. And since last year I bought an Epic, and I had the Epic here, I figured this year we'd bring a Scarlet. So Nate runs around the world working with different customers all the time, big jobs, little jobs, doesn't matter. He's always kind of there with advice and pieces and parts. As you know, we're a very connected company. We like to be connected to our users, because that's how we learn how to build our products better, right? If we're all sitting in a lab room, we can never do it right. You learn by that collaboration. So Nate's one of those guys that does that all the time, pretty much. Yeah, that's it.
You.
So this is a Scarlet configuration, and you can see that it looks similar to an Epic. It's about the same size. This is what we call the gunner rig, which is a nice way to rig it handheld. It all lives off this quick release plate, so everything can come apart and link up very quickly. And he's running it in kind of single camera mode because he's been documenting some of the stuff going around on the booth. So just on his own, he's got a mic rigged up. He's got our new OLED viewfinder, which is an upgrade to our existing viewfinder, and you can buy it new this way. So existing customers that have the existing viewfinder, which is still the best viewfinder on the market, we've actually now exceeded ourselves once again with a new OLED panel.
So they could upgrade.
They can upgrade. I think it's $1,200 for the upgrade, and then they can buy the new one for a little under $4,000.
Okay.
This is a new battery configuration, so everything's kind of always evolving and changing, right? This has the Canon mount on it, so he's shooting Canon still glass on here. One of the things we get a lot questions on these cameras are, so what actually are these things? Are they movie cameras or are they still cameras? Well, the answer is yes, they're both. and they function as both. And you've got a lot of very high fashion campaigns shooting just motion images for still extraction now. And huge jobs. I mean, Gucci and Victoria's Secret and
fashion industry
Sports
is doing
Illustrated
most, right?
and Nike, and I mean, like huge fashion jobs. L'Oreal just did a big thing. It's just amazing how much is going on in that world. That migration happened really quickly. So we're kind of in the eye of that storm pretty nicely.
Do you want to just go over the specs of Scarlet? I'm
Sure.
sure most people know, but
Yeah, so Scarlet is 5K for stills, so it shoots 12 frames a second for stills at 14 megapixels is 5K. And then 4K on down is motion, so it can shoot 4K, a 4K HD mode, which is perfect for television. That's like what Criminal Minds uses on their Epics is 4K HD mode, 3K and 2K. So it's very similar to an Epic. It runs the same sort of unified software, the same red code. The differences are that the high speed on an Epic, you can go full 5K at 120 frames a second. This camera, you would take it to 2K to go to 120 frames a second. So those are some of the differences. The price points are pretty drastically different. The Scarlet body is a little under $10,000. So if you think about how dramatic that is, a full-on motion picture camera, and this is working on lots of movies now. So there are movies that can't afford or strategically don't need the high speed to shoot a bunch of Epics, they shoot a bunch of Scarlets now. There's actually my buddy Tanatsi from Vietnam, he's 5 features in on Scarlets now already. So it's happening pretty fast.
And how long has Scarlet been out now and shipping?
Since November of last year. So how many months? November, December, October, November, December.
Yeah.
A little less than a year.
Now, and
thousands of them, and we can't build them fast enough. It's
really
insane how yeah.
So there's a waiting list still?
There's always no, actually now, finally, for the first time, this is kind of an announcement, right? That Epics and Scarlets you can buy without a waiting list. We have been ramping up manufacturing so robustly. I mean, someday I'll have to take you to the factory so you can have a tour.
I would love that, yeah.
Because one of the things a lot of people actually don't know about these cameras is these are built in the United States. They're all built in California.
Is it all Southern California?
Yeah, it's in Irvine, and it's a full-on manufacturing facility. Hundreds of employees, full-on manufacturing lines. We turn out Epics and Scarlets about once every 13 minutes off the line, and as soon as they're built, they go out to customers. Yeah. But now you can actually order them and get them, within like a week of processing time and delivery and stuff.
So can you talk about what might be coming next?
Yeah, in fact, we did some announcements last night where we announced our Dragon sensor, some more of the specifications. Remember we talked a little bit last year, and I think that's where that drinking game got started.
That is correct. Yeah, it's coming soon.
Drinking game, which we could talk about that later. But from a standpoint of what we are now talking a little more about it, because it's coming closer to reality now, is it's a 6K sensor. So we do another migration up the resolution food chain. Mm-hmm. So while the rest of the world is now finally just catching on that 1080p is not enough and they're building some 4K offerings and kind of getting into that world, we are so far ahead of that world that 4K for us, well, that's so 2008 in terms of the maximum resolution that we want from a camera device. Now we're looking at 6K, right?
Okay.
And it's the same value quotient that we always give to our customers. So you'll be able to upgrade your Epic camera from the 5K sensor to the 6K sensor for $6,000. So it's that same logic of giving back to the customer, which is a big part of who we are as a company.
What else is new? Because I was told we have a minute left.
Okay, wow, 1 minute. There's like 20 new things.
Oh,
Come to the Red booth, go to the Red website,
but
and you'll learn it.
More specifics.
Red projector, that's a big one, for post especially.
Okay.
Laser-based projector, 4K, 3D, 120 frames, and dual eye passive, meaning it's fundamentally different than any other 3D projection experience you'll ever see. You have to come to the booth and see it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because we're feeding both left eye and right eye simultaneously the 3D image, and you wear passive glasses. It's the most comfortable, best 3D viewing environment I've ever seen. And I mean, people know when I get excited about a lot of stuff, right?
Yes.
But when I get excited about this excited, you have to see this thing in action. So Ridley Scott produced a movie that his son Luke directed, and Giovanni Ribisi stars in. So we have this short movie that we made, all with Epic cameras on Reality Technica rigs, and it's running off our laser projector in the booth on a nice big screen in a nice big theater that we built.
Is it on your site as well?
It won't be on the site right away.
Okay.
It may at some point be on the site, but today you have to come see it in person.
Okay,
Get on a plane and get out here.
Come here. And what else? Quick, because we got to go.
Red Ray Player is real. We're showing Red Ray is how we're playing back the movie.
Okay.
So the Red Ray is our specialized 4K playback device. We talked about the Dragon sensor. We have a wireless video module that we're showing that will take a wireless feed from the Epic or the Scarlet and send it wirelessly, full uncompressed 1080p, and put it on wireless monitors anywhere. It's super small, tiny little thing. We have a Nikon mount coming. We've got tons of new stuff coming.
No dates. You didn't give-
Most of this stuff by the end of this year.
Okay.
The Dragon sensor should be by the end of this year.
Projector as well.
Projector, I will underconfidently say by the end of this year. I won't give a hard date yet.
You've
but it
heard
is
it
absolutely
here.
working.
No.
Yeah, right. It's working. It's remarkable how good this thing is. And it's scalable. So the other thing we didn't mention is the entry level. It's a scalable product, meaning because it's laser engine based. The projector can be in a home environment sub $10,000. It can go all the way up to an exhibition projector for more than $10,000. I don't know what the final price point is, but to fill a 50, 60-foot movie screen. So at a 15-foot movie screen in a home or a small DI theater, $10,000 4K projector.
Ted, thank you
Sure,
so
yeah,
much.
my pleasure.